roll call, please.
Shelley Bryant. Matt.
Present.
Charmel Gillen. Yes, Wesley Sugarly. Carol Langford.
Here.
Glenn Tucci.
Here.
Bing Matt.
Here.
Ellie Bundy. Martin Charlo.
Present.
Mike Dolson.
I'm here.
James Steele Senior.
Ellie, will you lead us in prayer this morning?
Thanks, Madam Vice Chair, Council. Creator, today we ask that you be with us to help guide the decisions that we will be making on behalf of our tribal membership. We ask that you be with all of those who are struggling with COVID or addictions or pain or loss or any other battles that they might be fighting today. Please be with them, keep them strong. Please be with our children, keep them safe, our law enforcement, our military personnel. Please just watch over all of us and help us to do good and be good. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
11 inch. We have a set of minutes from October 7th.
Minutes of October 7th.
Motion by Ellie.
I have one addition, if I may. On the bottom of page 3, could I just put the date in of the upcoming election is December 18th? Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Motion by Ellie. Second by Martin. All those in favor? Abstain? Charmel? Motion carries. Agenda for October 12th. Are there any additions? Any walk-ins, Jen? No? Martin?
I'll have an addition for open, please.
For what, Martin?
For open?
Open? And maybe we can talk about some of the school board meetings that we attended last night. Okay, motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Ellie, second by Martin. All those in favor? Motion carries. Martin, do you want to go ahead with your issue?
I was just gonna do my usual COVID update. Numbers keep going up, and we really need to work harder as a community to support our healthcare workers who are exhausted. I had the privilege of getting another COVID test the other day, thankfully, negative again. I just hope that people out there realize that, this is definitely something that we should be more diligent on. Lake County Public Health doesn't have the time to update their numbers. The only milestone that they put out there was that we've reached our 4,000th positive case in Lake County since the pandemic began. I'm sure that number has, well, I know it's been going up by the hundreds the last few months. And so to get to that number after where we were at is disappointing, to say the least. The vaccine, I'll continue advocating for it. I know that there's this push of natural immunity, and I understand that because I had that for about 3 months. And then as I understood it, it began to go away. And I think that, having a vaccine after that was, a safe decision. And I would hate for someone to think that a natural immunity goes forever. And the more that people ask questions, the more I do my own research with medical people who are very qualified and have been living COVID for the last, 2 years. And the other benefit of the vaccine, yes, it doesn't prevent you from getting COVID, but if you do have COVID, your transmission levels are much reduced. You're not shedding as many live COVID cells out into the air and everything. And so, this idea that yes, it doesn't prevent the spread 100%, it doesn't. But again, layers of protection. It'd be foolish to drive your car without a seatbelt because you have airbags. It would be foolish to, do these things without the idea that, nothing's 100%. And so I will continue to advocate for the safety of our tribal members and the people out there that allow the propaganda to just permeate the unproven science. You guys are all allowed to, you have the freedom to believe and think everything you want, and I'll listen to you. I get my hair cut, and the person that was cutting my hair was 100% against a vaccine. They had just been yelled at by someone and called, I think, idiots is what she said, by someone on the pro-vaccine side. And all those things are doing is making someone that's on the fence more steadfast in their resisting something that could definitely help them and help save lives. And that's, that's fine for everyone to have their own opinion. But I don't think we should be yelling at people and calling people idiots over something like this. We are all entitled to our own choice of what we do and say, and but promoting things that are unproven is a scary place to be. And I'm sure that people can refute everything I just said. I'm sure there are people out there that will say what they, unfounded, that what I'm saying is wrong and everything else. And I can skew the numbers back again at you if I so choose. So, I don't know. I truly just want to protect the community. We should be done with COVID. Maybe that should be the message, is we should be through with this. If we would have got to herd immunity, but the woulda, coulda, shouldas don't exist in this reality. The reality is we have thousands of COVID cases around us, hundreds of cases in Lake County. And it's not getting a whole lot better. So if this natural immunity does exist, the more people that get COVID, I guess that's their theories, the better, which I strongly disagree with. I've friends whose parents, they're having to make very difficult decisions, and people, I'm seeing it firsthand. And yes, maybe this person had pre-existing conditions, but the reality is COVID is what ultimately will be their demise. And that is the reality. And the people out there that don't see it, aren't living it, you're lucky. And, hug your families and thank God that they're still there, because a lot of people aren't getting that chance. Or they're looking at, saying their last goodbyes. So, I hope everyone enjoyed their long weekend for Indigenous Day. And all this talk yesterday of being in, coming together in unity and everything was really, really nice to hear. But, and then I get back and look at the reality we're in. So thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And kind of along that same subject, the tribal council have been contacting the school boards in Lake and Sanders counties and asking to visit to see if there's anything that tribal council can do to make it safe for our kids and the staff. Last night I attended Hot Springs. They have a special meeting for a mitigation plan. So we split out and if anyone wants to talk about that, about how the board meetings went, I welcome that at this time. Like I said, I was invited over to the Hot Springs meeting and they talked about their mitigation plan, and they have a COVID flow chart as to what causes which actions and I don't know. I think that one of the problems they're having as well is the health facilities are so full that they're having a hard time getting the numbers back, as Martin just mentioned, and taken 4 to 5 days. And by that time, if an individual has been by a positive, then they've made contact. So that was kind of one of their complaints. Also, the size of the rooms, they can't keep people 6 feet apart. That's been difficult for them. And I offered that if there's anything that the tribes can do with PPE or anything like that, to let us know and to keep us involved. So that was my report. I think their next meeting is October 25th at 4:30. So they invited us back. So Carol, do you want to report on your school board meetings?
Yeah, I attended both Polson and Ronan, and I'll let Charmel report on Polson because her and Shelley both were able to attend that, and then I and Shelley attended Ronan. And we were on the agenda for the safe return part of the agenda, which I thought, I thought we might have our own slot on the agenda as a government. But Mr. Cornwell, or Board Chair Cornwell, no, Board Chair McGinn, no, Cornwell for Ronan, asked me to come up, and I just basically used our talking points. And one of Ronan's main concerns, and they did have a prepared statement, which I was really pleased with, because it did talk about, some of the issues that we brought up in Polson with Shelley's, with her statement. Anyway, one of the concerns they have is with tribal health and public health reporting. It's inconsistent. And so when you have somebody that calls in 5 days after and says I was a close contact, that's the issues. And it sounds like the same issue that Hot Springs is having, is that they're not really coordinating together. And then also after the public health and tribal health find out, nobody's letting the school know that you need to contact this family because there was a child with a close contact or an adult. So those kind of issues are really concerning, as it's not like it was the first time around when there was a close contact and we were immediately on it. I think we're kind of, I know our health people are taxed heavily right now, and it just shows by when we talk to them. But I think that's the concern, is that they're not coordinating together. And so I thought Ronan overall was trying to meet the needs. And if some people do choose to wear masks, and he went through the percentages and stuff, and I don't have those with me, but I was they're low percentages, but they are at least people are masking up. And he said beginning of the year there was a lot more. Now they're just kind of slowly weaning back, and so percentages were low. Anyway, I think that's all I have, Madam Chair, unless Shelley, is Shelley on? Oh, I thought I heard her. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Carol. Charnel, do you want to tell us what happened in Polson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Tribal Council. Really nothing different. It sounds like all of the dialogue was similar. We were a part of the standard return to school report agenda item. I don't know. I guess I didn't really. I would like to have maybe a different type of a conversation with school boards. I'm not sure. I hope we can have a better construct, I guess, for dialogue, a little more possibly informal. There in the meeting that I attended in Polson, it wasn't a real two-way conversation. I didn't feel there wasn't a back and forth discussion. And at the end of it, I did request that they respond to us with some communication and let us know, I guess, what they would like to discuss. I didn't know if, I didn't get the feeling that there would be a response if we didn't ask for one. But there was the little bit of responses from the superintendent, which were the same as what Carol reported that came out of the Ronan meeting, and you reported out of the Hot Springs meeting. And that was just to say that, they are doing their best to identify impacted faculty, staff, students, that they're having difficulty getting the notifications from health workers, that they're, empathetic with the burden on healthcare workers, and they're just doing the best that they can once they get the information to respond within the schools. It seems as though they believe that they're getting good data and reporting about those who are impacted, but it's just slow in coming, and then that they have very, very minimal numbers. Their website does show the cumulative data that they've gathered, and so the new positive cases in the last 7 days was reported, and there was only one student in Cherry Valley reported in the last 7 days. And for the staff, there was one staff member at Cherry Valley in the last 7 days, one staff member at Polson High School in the last 7 days. And then the cumulative numbers, though, just within this school year, the district total of students is 121, and then the district total with the staff is 13. So that's the information they shared. They did say that if we could help impact, I guess, the contact tracing response time, or if we could help by providing greater access to rapid testing, the antigen testing, that those were some things that they thought that might be a positive way to try to help. I think that was about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharmil. And, you know, as they said, Martin indicated we haven't got any updated numbers. I contacted Tammy yesterday to see if they had anything. And I did share with them about the numbers that were reported to us last Thursday. And when you look at 415 cases and, you know, the 200 or the 22 that are their current hospital, and then the 57 deaths, and 24 of them have been tribal. And then 79 at that time were age 0 to 18, and that's our concern. We're just trying to slow it down. So, and like I said, I do realize that part of the problem is getting them numbers back in the contact tracing. So, okay, if that's it, are we ready for Ruth? We've got a MOU with Nkusum. We'll go ahead with the agenda. It's on pages 2 to 5. Good morning, Ruth.
That's on. Quick with them. Yes, Madam Chair, the MOU that the tribe has had with Nkusum has been in place for about a dozen years. And when we first developed it, we were trying to be mindful of the cash flow needs of the school. So we had set a report period of the 25th to the 25th, and we're aiming to distribute their donation monthly by the 1st. And since that time, we've determined that that's caused some difficulties on their side for the reporting. So we just want to amend the MOU to go to the calendar month, which has been sufficient. And that's actually what they've been doing for some time now. They contract out their financial management, and that's how that entity is doing their reports. So we ask for your amendment to that particular section. And then we've updated for the chair's signature as well.
Council, oh, go ahead, Martin.
I was gonna make the motion to approve.
Motion by Martin to approve the revision on the MOU, second by Ellie. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruth. Have a good day. Okay, I see Mike's on here. Mike Durglow. Purchase a GPR. It is on pages 6 to 11.
Pasquax Pesia, Kisu Quictum. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Enjoyed your Indigenous Peoples Day. That was nice. Thank you for that. That's awesome. It's about time, right? Hey, as you can see in the paper that I sent in with this, I've been doing some work with Marcia Small. I don't know if you guys know Marcia. She's been doing work across the country on the boarding school, a lot of the boarding school cemeteries and that. And she came, I think it was 2 years ago now, it was before COVID hit. Her and I and a few other people started doing the old cemetery between the Catholic Church and the Longhouse. And you can see that picture, that's those are actually graves, unmarked graves. And I think I can't remember exactly, but I think we only found like 5 grave markers in that whole area. I do not know what happened to the markers that were, or if they ever were on the graves. I'm assuming they were. We finished about half of that project, and I'd like to finish the rest of it. And eventually put up a memorial over there on that site and maybe do a beautification project. I don't know if you guys have heard, but people see a small girl walking around down there, a spirit. And, you know, for me, it's like, why is she not at rest? And I don't know the answer to that, but, you know, apparently there's a reason for that. And I don't know if it would help for me to, you know, finish up that project, recognize the people that I can find information for down there. I was also asked by Vernon to come up to Dayton and do some GPR work up there. There's also Anita, I've talked to Anita before about the one in Dixon, the agency cemetery. There's some I don't know, Anita, if those are unmarked or they're just not really, nobody's really, you know, taking charge of maintenance and taking care of that. There's another cemetery down in Moise at the Faust Farm. A few years ago, Aggie Inkashola, when she worked here, she went down and we actually worked with lands to relocate the fence that's around that. But I don't know if there's, see what was happening was they was driving their 4-wheelers down there at the Faust Farm over those graves. And that's when we went down and worked with land, and they relocated the fence line a little farther out, but I don't know if there's still more graves out there. There's also 2 that I know of, 2 smallpox burial sites, one down by Mission Creek that I've been working with Tony. And my dad had kind of showed or talked about that mass burial smallpox site down in Mission Creek. And we just don't know like exactly the location of that smallpox site. I know the owners are Hunts, Robert and Rusty. I talked to Robert, the owners of that property. I talked to Robert. He had no problem with me going down there and trying to locate those graves, but Rusty does have a problem with tribal people. So I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that. I talked to Tony and some of the elders about just, you know, being able to locate them, not necessarily that we're going to really do anything down there except maybe mark the area, because I told Robert all the research that I've done on smallpox burial sites, they don't know if if the virus is viable. If somebody was to go dig them up or, you know, accidentally or whatever. So I told Robert that it would be good just to know the exact location of those graves. So that's my request. It's pretty expensive and it does come with some training. I'd like to have 2 of my staff members trained up to use the machine. It's pretty expensive because there's actually 2 antennas that I'd like to purchase with it that come with it as part of the package. One antenna is I think a 900 or 1,000 megahertz antenna, and the other one is a 500, or one is 1,000 and one is 500. The difference being that the 1,000 megahertz antenna measures close surface artifact types of items. The 500 megahertz antenna would measure graves at a deeper, so the wavelength is much larger so that we can find the graves that we're looking for. So if anybody have any questions about it?
I just have a quick comment. Mike, I had understood through some of the residents down at the Dixon Agency about the unmarked graves, that they were always told as kids to stay away from there. They didn't play around it, but I think it's a very needed issue to get took care of. I had the opportunity to go up with your dad into Camas Prairie years and years ago, and some of the graves up there that were hard to identify. And I think they were trying to like GPS them. I don't know if they ever finished that project, but they were trying to identify where they were.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any comments? Ellie?
Thanks, Mike. I would make the motion to approve the ground penetrating radar purchase, but also just want to thank you, Mike, for bringing it forward. I do look forward to a beautification project in the St. Ignatius Cemetery and to just mark all of those others as we are able, but appreciate what you're doing and looking forward to the reports on what you find. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Carol?
I'll second it, but I have a question regarding the BPA funds. Is that appropriate expenditure for those funds?
It's fairly vague in that that document from BPA on those funds. They're a cultural, so they're mitigation funds for power line. And there's some of it, I don't have it right in front of me, Carol, so I apologize. But I do remember there was some, as far as like education, cultural language, maybe some funds for interviews and stuff like that. Ruth did tell me a couple of days ago that I'm not sure where she would transfer those funds from. I'm just assuming from that BPA mitigation money.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
And I believe that this was brought up in front of the budget committee as well. Go ahead, Martin.
And one question, Mike, with this type of equipment, I'm assuming that the technology is going to change quickly. Is there anything for maintenance, technology upgrades, those type of things? And thanks, Charmel, for the question. I wasn't sure if we're going to get to it.
Yeah, so I've been working with Tony Berthelot over at SKC. They actually have, and he has a class that he does on GPR use. His unit is, I think he said 15 years old. he hasn't had to do a whole lot of maintenance, but it is, I mean, you know, even our radios or our cell phones or whatever, as when they come out, they're already pretty much outdated. I'm not anticipating that we would have to do any kind of an upgrade or anything like that for at least probably 10 to 15 years. Does that answer your question, Martin?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mike. Charmel and then Carol.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, thanks, Martin, for asking. The other part that I was curious, in addition to any software upgrades or updates, was, Mike, the the document that you provided, and I apologize, I wasn't in the budget committee during this whole conversation, so so I'm just going to ask today, but the license that is referenced in your quote is a software license, but it doesn't indicate how the term of that license, is that an annual renewal, or is it, do you have to have a annual renewal cost for that software?
Charmel, I'm not 100% certain on that question, but I believe that the software is part of the unit package. So, you know, you buy a computer and sometimes they come with Windows 10 or whatever it is. I believe, so Tony Berthelot helped me with this. And when we talked to these folks, I basically said, you know, I need everything that I would ever need in this packet. So, and that includes, I believe, two training sessions with them. And then when Tony and I talked about it, we talked about him and I kind of working together at the college. Not that I would be a staff member, but we could work with his students and they could work with us to do some of these projects. So we kind of be learning, you know, together.
Go ahead, Sherman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in follow-up, Ruth Swaney has just provided information that cost would be covered by IT's annual budget. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherman. Carol?
Rick determined it was appropriate expenditure.
Are there any other questions for Mike? If not, we've got a motion by Ellie. Oh, second by Carol. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you all, and I will definitely keep you informed as to the progress we're making. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break in between, about 10 minutes, waiting for our next presentation. That's scheduled for 10, so we'll take a 10-minute break. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Good morning, Velda. And we've got Velda with the Build a Better EDA and pages 12 through 14.
Hisukwithnam Nasuking Ituum. Good morning, Tribal Council. We have an opportunity to join in the Build Back Better EDA Regional Challenge with a coalition that we call the Western Montana Coalition, which will be comprised of the Butte, CDC, the Mozilla Economic Partnership, and then us, Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes. And I apologize for the late information that I sent. I believe you may have just got some reference materials to give you an update on how all of this came about. Well, it all came about last week. And so we're still in the initial phases of bringing our people together at the tribal level. We met last Thursday with this group along with the Butte Development Corporation, and we discussed the possibility of these industrial clusters that we could respond to this grant. It's asking for very specific things in the realm of economic development. And so we started looking at some industry clusters that would work for all of us regionally. So you can see in that letter, there's a broad range. We're leaving it pretty general right now because should we proceed and if we are successful, we will be able to flesh all of this out to be more specific and get details. Okay, so after we met with these potential partners, we met privately as a tribal organization. And subsequently, we decided that this could be a good fit and it's a great opportunity for us to be a part of this challenge. And again, we need to build our economic resiliency. We need to respond to the pandemic. And there's so much we need to do that we just can't overlook this once in a lifetime grant opportunity. So today we provided you an update on the meeting and some of the things that the tribes would be interested in specifically. But one of the components involves the Salish Kootenai College. And because we had a holiday yesterday, we weren't able to meet. So we're still awaiting their response. Janet has reached out to them, and if they're available, we can discuss it further. And basically we need their confirmation to participate as, you know, one of our components. And on their end, what we're looking at is helping them augment their programs in building trades, construction, and STEM degrees. So there's so much opportunity here, and there's a lot of money involved. And we would like to respond this week because the deadline is the 19th. So we'd like to formulate this letter, this final letter. And we really only need to add about another paragraph just to say what we would be willing to do. And so conceptually, you see on that background piece of paper, we kind of bulleted those areas that involve us, the Economic Development Office, and then also SKC. And yeah, this is the letter, and that's where we would insert our sentences, those paragraphs that, or those sentences in that paragraph, to where we can broadly say that we would be a part of this coalition and this is what we would like to work on. And as you can see in the update I provided you, we are interested in developing our Pablo North Industrial Park. And that had an initial master plan conducted, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. We have it on file in our office and we can speak to it more specifically if you'd like. But generally, that's kind of what we're looking at. So we can do a business incubator, an innovation center, and possibly a manufacturing facility. And then we can also lease lots. So those are things that we'd like to look at. And then I invited the Mozilla Economic Partnership here today. If you would like to share the slides, if you can share your screen, Nicole or Grant, share the slides so we can highlight what this grant has to offer so they can see what we're looking at here.
Sure. Good morning.
So this is Nicole Rush, and she's the Business Initiative Director with the Mozilla Economic Partnership. Okay, go ahead, Nicole.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Velda. Yeah, I just have a couple of slides to share. Hopefully you can all see this. Yeah, so Velda just asked me to give an overview of the grant program, and Grant Kier, Mozilla Economic Partnership CEO, is also here to, he can give an overview if needed of kind of our sort of vision for this project and where we are in conversation so far with the different partners. But the Build Back Better program is a $1 billion grant program authorized through ARPA and through the U.S. Department of Congress to the Economic Development Administration. It's the largest grant award that's ever been given for one single program to the EDA. And the focus of this is to build a broad regional coalition around an industry cluster that we want to grow to build economic resilience and create more opportunities for all different people in the region. So this slide just kind of shows the sort of three main elements, you know, the idea that we have a broad coalition of partners coming together with a shared vision, that we're looking at creating job opportunities for a lot of different people, especially rural communities and people who've been left at the margins of our economy, who haven't been able to get into these higher wage jobs. And then, you know, job creation, and then expanding the industry cluster. And the sort of industries that we've looked at as a coalition are around life sciences, environmental sciences, and environmental remediation, to look at how we can develop these industries that help us respond to all different kinds of natural disasters, including pandemics, fires, and the impact of climate change. And so the grant is structured in 2 phases. The piece that we're looking at applying for right now is an application due on the 19th that is basically just kind of describes our vision for the project and our coalition and the outcomes we hope to achieve. And then if awarded, we'll get $500,000 as a coalition to do a big planning effort in order to apply for the second phase, where we'll, you know, build out our 3 to 8 big projects that the grant would fund, you know, continue to build our coalition of partners and do a lot of technical planning, especially for like construction projects and, you know, things that require really detailed plans. And then if we're successful with our phase 2 application after that planning process, we'll be eligible for $25 to $75 million to fund our big projects and our big vision. So this is structured to work as a coalition that, you know, is broader than the sum of its parts and includes, you know, sort of a leadership from state or local governments, institutions of higher education, and nonprofits, so Missoula Economic Partnership is the economic development organization serving Missoula County. We're partnering with Butte Local Development Corporation and Headwaters RC&D, which is their broader 7-county economic development district over in Butte. And then our other key partners, other than hopefully you all, are the University of Montana and Montana Tech. So coming in on the educational side of things. And then, and so this just kind of shows the 4 main elements of the project where we bring together in our coalition all of our different assets, our industry leadership from different companies. We have a focus on equity, so to create better outcomes and opportunities for a broad group of people. And then we have a focus on sustainability too, and making sure that our work will be sustainable beyond the 5-year period of this grant award. And this slide just kind of shows a little bit more about the first phase. So yeah, so that's kind of an overview of the program. I'll stop sharing. I'm happy to, Belda, I think I already gave you those slides, but happy to send again if needed. And is there anything else that you'd like me to cover?
Well, we've shared the slides, so hopefully the council has them in their packets. Like I say, we kind of got them in here at the 11th hour, so those should be with your reference materials. And Grant, would you like to introduce yourself and kind of give us your feel for this whole coalition?
Yes, thank you, Belda. I appreciate it. And good morning, members of the council, and thank you very much for having us here today. Can everyone hear me okay? I should confirm that on Zoom. Okay, great. So I just want to say, one, I want to apologize for any sense that this feels rushed. This has been pretty much a really rushed process for us too, in terms of responding to the grant. It's a relatively big and new grant, and many of the details of the grant have only emerged in sort of recent weeks. So I do want to say that we have had a great experience working with Belda. Nicole and Belda have built a great relationship over the last couple of years, and Belda was instrumental in participating on the steering committee for the Missoula County Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. And so many of the issues that we've been talking about for months, about some of the shared challenges that we have between the economies on the reservation and off the reservation, and some of the opportunities, are the things that we see in a pathway to address through this grant. So it's a very exciting opportunity for us to take action on some of the concerns that we've had and some of the opportunities we see. I'll speak really briefly to that vision component, which is that we felt that we wanted an authentic grant that really did capture the spirit of our communities and the strengths that we really have. And we feel like with our partners, and hopefully you are among them, we have a region that has really built up an incredible amount of strength and expertise around responding to natural resource challenges, and in ways that maybe no other region in the country or the world has. And so right now, you are, of course, faced with your Boulder fire and looking at the recovery of that. But for more than 100 years, Western Montana has addressed some of the biggest Superfund sites in the country, huge restoration projects of watersheds, including some of the work that you've done in the Jocko. And with the Rocky Mountain Lab and the Fire Lab and our shared higher educational institutions, we just have a really exceptional cluster of experience and businesses industry leaders and educational institutions that I think have an opportunity to educate a future workforce to do the kind of work that is meaningful for younger generation of workers and rewarding, but also financially stable and sustainable. And to that end, I guess the last thing I want to point out is that in talking with your natural resource staff, we also know that along with the recently passed water compact, there's a enormous need to address restoration of the watershed on the reservation. And so much of our vision for this is hoping to create business opportunities, educational opportunities that allow for that work to be done by people from this place, growing businesses and skills in this place that we can then export to other regions of the country and the world in the future to bring our expertise to other communities and bring the revenue back to our communities to grow businesses and to grow jobs and people's financial security. So we're honored to be here today. We believe that your partnership is really critical, both because we are neighbors and we are linked so sort of intrinsically with our economies and our natural resources, but also because you have been leaders in this space for a very long time. And I think the strengths and experiences of the tribes in the context of these industries is really exceptional, and I think will make our impacts more broad and meaningful, and I think our grant and our outcomes even stronger. So thank you very much, Velda, for the chance to speak. And thank you, Council, for considering this partnership.
Thank you. I think Charmel has a comment.
This looks like a wonderful opportunity, and thank you, Velda, for bringing this forward to us. A letter of support for partnership, does that put us in competition with others for the same funds, or how is this, if we're asked to give support to another applicant, how should we consider that? If you have any advice, Velda?
Well, I reached out to Grant and Nicole this morning to ask them that very question. And they said they didn't think it would impede our application. While it is competitive, it doesn't matter if we're supporting other applicants, because this one we're coming in as a lead. If you approve it, ours will be a lead, and that'll be our main focus. And the letter that we saw that was drafted for your approval, it was an entirely different project, so it wouldn't really compete with anything we're proposing.
Carol?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I kind of see this as a growing Western Montana. If we're awarded phase 2 with $25 to $75 million. But I'm glad you mentioned the water compact, because that's on our forefront right now of everything that we're talking about today. And so I'm just wondering, with the state of what's going on now with trying to even fill the simplest positions seems to be very difficult. And I know that won't last forever, but how do you plan on, what, do you have any thoughts on that, on what we're going through right now?
Madam Chair, I think Janet can speak to that a little bit. Like I say, we don't really want to commit SKC until we've had a formal discussion with them. But Janet has been doing a lot of work on workforce enhancement and training. And if she can speak to that a little bit, this is something that we would like to expand on as part of this grant. Go ahead, Janet.
Good morning, Tribal Council and everyone else. Yes, as soon as we can work with the college on the potential for expanding their heavy construction program and also their building trades programs. Those programs, essentially, they need assistance with finding an instructor for the building trades program that they can sustain over several years. And then again, with their other natural resource development programs, I think it's really important to boost to give the college a boost financially, because they're key players when it comes to workforce development. And, you know, we're just in this particular letter of support, we're just basically hoping that we can get our foot in the door so we can get that $500,000 planning money. And then we can flush out more detail with Salish Kootenai College. That will help pay for staff time to work out the details, as well as preliminary engineering and architectural reports for that Pablo North project and any other expansion that the college might need. So again, I think, you know, based on what we've done so far with the college on workforce development and working toward trying to get more people trained for restoration projects, for the irrigation project restoration, just trying to get more students into that heavy construction program, heavy equipment program, and other construction programs. I think this fits nicely with those efforts. And again, one of the problems the college has always had is having enough funding to cover the cost of the instructors, and also possibly to provide some scholarships for students to get into these trades, and to maybe even do some public relations work to entice people to go into these trades so that they can learn more about you know, how much money they could be making in these types of jobs, and then possibly even looking at partnerships with the unions in Missoula that offer some apprenticeships, paid apprenticeships. So it's basically just kind of to flush out all of this work we've been doing and get a better, more planned approach to be able to provide the training that workers need to get these jobs here on the reservation and outside of the reservation.
Okay, Madam Chair, with that being said, I will, and thank you, Janet and Velda and the others on this call. I will make a motion that we go ahead and approve the letter of support to Build Back Better.
Mike,
I'd love to hear Greg's opinion.
Good morning, all, and thank you for your time. I think that through our deliberations, I support Velda and Janet's assessment of this proposal. I like to think of it in two phases, and I think they've been well articulated. That phase one is our indication of interest and our willingness to be a part of the coalition and to begin the process of determining if we are awarded phase two, how will we benefit the organization. Right now, I think a lot of emphasis is put on the college, and Ms. Langford, to your point, how do we develop the right skills in our members and our personnel here on the reservation to be equipped to improve and work with some of the things that are on the horizon for the organization. I fully support the recommendation that we participate as members and as a lead member of this coalition so that we can accomplish this very short time horizon to be part of the initial phase one application. That'll give us all a chance to take a deep breath and figure out how we want to ultimately make the right argument for how we can make better the livelihoods and frankly, link what would phase two look like and how would we link it to the guiding resolutions of the organization to provide working opportunities and to provide real sustainable growth for the members. So I support the tribe's participation at this stage in joining the coalition and being part of the phase one operation. And I share Janet's concern or interest in hearing back from the college because I think this is a wonderful opportunity and I look forward to their feedback.
thank you, Greg. Thanks for your question, Mike. So we're still waiting for the response back from SKC before we have the letter signed and join?
Yeah, we'll finalize the letter once we get their commitment. And Janet did I believe she emailed them again this morning. So it'll only be a few sentences that we will add to that, just kind of describing what our participation will be. But beyond that, that's pretty much the draft letter. And then if we have the approval to proceed with being a part of the coalition, then we'll get that letter finalized. And my understanding is you're not meeting again this week, so we could get it to Chairwoman Fayant if possible.
Meeting Thursday, don't we? Yeah, we're meeting this week, Velda.
Oh, okay. Well, then we could have it ready by Thursday. We can get it back for your review, and then we'll get it to Nicole and Grant and Joe. I guess Joe is the one who will submit it for us. He's our grant. He will be the grant coordinator for this project.
Okay, Carol's got a,
Yeah, I'm just curious what your plans are if the college doesn't agree. Maybe, I'm not sure what they have going. And is there gonna be a lot of blowback if they don't? I mean, I think we're a little premature here, you know, without. And I know you told me yesterday that, I mean, that the meeting was canceled yesterday due to no work, but yeah.
Yeah, we really don't have a plan B. If the college chooses not to participate, we really won't know how to beef up the educational component, but we still have an opportunity through the Salish Kootenai Business Services to work on some of the business assistance. But the reason we have Janet kind of reaching out is she'd already developed the rapport over the last 5 years in working on workforce development training there, the curriculum, and getting programs up and running. So she kind of has a tried and true track record on how to assist them and then build the pipeline of people who need the expertise that we're trying to train up. But if you feel more comfortable with it, the first request we have, if you look at our background sheet, is to go ahead and approve, if you feel comfortable with this, our participation with the coalition, the Western Montana Regional Coalition, and then we can come back on Thursday and get the final letter approved.
I hate to do that until we have the college on board, unless we're gonna go over there and strong arm and say, no, you need to do this. I don't know why they wouldn't. I'm just saying, it's better to be included at the very beginning and know what's going on, and instead of being brought in after the fact, which I'm not sure if that's what's happening. It just appears that way to me. I'm sorry if I'm out of line.
Charmel, did you have something?
I just have a question that may not be able to be answered immediately, but hopefully it will soon. I guess I would like to assume that if we pursue this, we're going to be successful. I think that we'd probably put together a pretty good partnership, pretty good package. And given that likelihood, I guess I would like to know a little bit more about how we would fund the 20% match, as well as proceed with other development priorities that we have on the table that we would like to ensure funding for. So I guess that's something that I hope we can get a little bit more context as well. And I'm not sure, I guess, Carol, if you're gonna keep your motion on the table, if we address that or whatever, but thank you very much.
So is this something that we can go ahead and take a consensus to go ahead and pursue the partnership and table the letter until Thursday? Go ahead, Martin.
I was just gonna, Janet has her hand up I think she has something.
Okay, go ahead, Janet.
Oh, thank you. I did speak with Dan Durglow briefly on Thursday. He is interested, but before he wanted to commit, he felt he needed to meet with Stacy Sherwin and have some further discussion with us. So I did send a copy of the PowerPoint to them last week, to Dan and the college. The president of the college is busy and not able to work on this particular project, but Dan and Stacy Sherwin are looking at it right now. So they do have some information. There is some interest, but they haven't given us a final commitment yet or reviewed the letter yet.
Or you had a motion, but do you want to withdraw?
Madam Chair,
and-
you didn't accept my motion when I made it, so I
Okay.
didn't think it was still on the floor. So
Okay,
that's,
all right. Okay. So do we have the consensus for them to go ahead with the participation, get it started, and then come back to us Thursday with the letter after they've had a chance to get the college's response? Okay. Okay. So I think that we have a half-day meeting Thursday, so if you can visit with Jen and make sure to get that back on to answer the questions that council had. Is in agreement.
Madam Chair, Anita,
Yeah,
did you get a consensus to proceed then with the coalition?
yes,
Okay. Okay, great. Well, we'll get back to work and we'll bring in the final letter on Thursday. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
All righty.
Thank you, Greg. Next on the agenda is legal with Rhonda. Maybe Dan. Good morning, Dan.
Morning, Madam Chair. Rhonda is in. I think she's got somebody in her office right now, but I think we can go ahead and get started. At this point, Madam Chair, I'd like to request executive session.
Okay, we'll go out of regular into